What did you do on Wednesday, April 26th, 2023? While it may be tough for you or I to pinpoint exactly what unfolded in our world on that date, it is a date that will be remembered by Alexei or Alex Pirsev, because on that date he was uncaged. For the first time in 9 months, he was able to go home with his partner, Zena Malik, and sleep in his own bed. Last August, on the 10th to be specific, 29-year-old Pirsev had been snatched up by strangers in the Netherlands. What had Pirsev done, you ask? He had merely written code. Open source code used to create a decentralized mixing service called Tornado Cash that sought to bring some amount of privacy to the Ethereum blockchain.
Bitcoin is really bad on privacy. I think the only people who do it worse actually are Ethereum.
And for that he was, and still is, being harassed. He's being told he must wear an ankle monitor, and he is told he will have to appear in court. Mind you, Pirsev is not accused of harming a person or property. Rather, he's accused of helping to create a tool that some bad actors used.
There are a lot of neutral tools that can be used by criminals. I mean, just think of the internet. I mean, that's something that's used by criminals every day, but we don't get rid of the internet.
So why did some people in the Netherlands decide to target Pirsev? Perhaps as a favor to their friends in DC? Because it just so happened that 2 days before Pirsev was kidnapped, bureaucrats 4,000 miles away in Washington, D.C., employed at the Office of Foreign Assets Control, a division of the U.S. Treasury's office, added 45 wallet addresses to their specially designated nationals list, which they then claim prohibits 330 million other people, those within the political boundaries of the United States, from engaging with. The wallet addresses were those integral to the operations of Tornado Cash. This specially designated nationals list typically includes individuals, aircraft, and vessels. Listing wallet addresses is fairly new territory. The only related action happened a few months prior when those Treasury employees sanctioned Blender.io. But the targeting of Tornado Cash was new because it is decentralized and relies on code, on smart contracts, to execute. Almost immediately, centralized entities that had anything to do with the sanctioned Tornado Cash all complied with the dictates of the Treasury Office employees. This targeting of a coder and of open source code has not been without pushback. The U.S. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer shared his letter that he sent to Treasury head Janet Yellen, in which he noted that technology is neutral and privacy is normal. Colin Post, writing at The Block, called the targeting of Pirsev and Tornado Cash a major escalation in global enforcement against decentralized protocols.
What's your latest thinking on the sanctioning of Tornado Cash?
I think members of the public, certainly, they don't even know that this happened. But members of the crypto community largely aren't taking this seriously enough. This is absolutely a do or die moment.
In October, the DC-based Coin Center filed a lawsuit against what they perceive as an overreach of Treasury Office powers. They acknowledged Ethereum's transparent public ledger and the desire of some users to have privacy using Tornado Cash, which nobody controls. Some have framed the actions against Pirsev and Tornado Cash through the lens of free speech.
Ever since the Bernstein vs. US hearings of the 1990s, one is protected by the First Amendment when publishing open source software in the same way one is protected when publishing a book.
But that is not the case in the Netherlands.
Here in the Netherlands, one can actually be detained for writing open source code that criminals take advantage of.
It's a question whether you can be complicit to a crime, whether you facilitated a crime by writing such an open source code.
This is undoubtedly why Simonov and Storm, the two other main Tornado Cash developers, have not been targeted, as they reside not in the Netherlands, but within the political boundaries of the US. Despite all the saber rattling and the extended caging, Pirsev has not been charged with a crime. He has merely faced allegations, though the press release issued by Treasury employees claims that their aim is not to punish but to bring about a positive change. That seems disingenuous. Indeed, an unnamed top dog at the Treasury was quoted in the Financial Times as stating, "We do believe that this action will send a really critical message to the private sector." In other words, they hope to cause a chilling effect, to cause developers to self-censor. A month after Pirsev was uncaged, he took the stage briefly at ETHDAM.
Thank you very much. It was so hard time for me. I really appreciate your support.
Where he introduced his lawyer.
There's a misconception that Tornado Cash is aimed at money laundering. I want to make clear from the start that Tornado Cash is a privacy data tool software.
So while some in the space continue to look to the people who are doing the targeting and harassing,
we're hopeful that that the courts will see that OFAC did overstep their authority.
Others have suggested a more strike the root route.
You should have levels of privacy protection baked into the protocol. And this prevents the kind of tomfoolery that we see the U.S. government beginning to engage in with things like OFAC and Tornado Cash.
As the transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau encouraged, Live deliberately. Does it make sense to use the currency that empowers those at the Office of the Treasury or those that kidnapped and caged and are threatening PrivateSend in the Netherlands? Or might it be better for ourselves and all of humanity if we use decentralized options that offer privacy at the protocol level?
The cards are about to fall on the table. We need to be ready. We need to do the best we can to respond to events as they occur and try to make the world a little bit better.
Hello and welcome to Incubator Weekly. That was a relevant newsreel for what we are talking about today, is it not, co-host Ryan?
Honestly, it makes my blood boil. Everything about this story really pisses me off. I guess I'm just going to go off on a little tangent here. Or not a tangent, but a little rant. This weekend is the 4th of July weekend, Independence Day here in the United States. And it's actually tomorrow, or actually, historically, it was the Declaration of Independence was written, I believe, and ratified on the 2nd, which was yesterday. So we sit right here on the 3rd, in between the 2nd and the 4th. I'm not a historian, so I don't know all the details behind that 2nd and 4th thing. But the point is, it's a historical weekend that we all celebrate for independence and having the ability to be autonomous human beings that are able to govern themselves. And you know, we talk a lot about we praise them, right? We look back on our forefathers who fought for independence, and we honor them. We have every year since that date. But I want to say that, you know, the modern day soldiers and the modern day freedom fighters do not look like they used to. It used to be, you know, you carried this bayonet and or gun, and you were out on the battlefield and, you know, killing people. That's not what the modern soldier looks like today. The modern soldier looks like a coder, as far as I'm concerned, that is coding and fighting for freedom on the battlefield that we find ourselves on today, and that is software. So much of our lives is software and technology, and that's where this fight is being fought. And I hope that, on a little lighter note, I hope that this didn't totally freak Will out, because Will is our guest today. He's the one that's been writing this CoinJoin implementation for JavaScript. And you know, this story of Alex, or Alexi, or however you say his name, this goes back a year about, and I do believe that I've shared that with Will, or at least with some of my team, but hopefully they have a little bit better of an idea. We have the First Amendment here in the United States that protects free speech, and as the story told in the intro, writing code is considered free speech. So hopefully, I mean, things always change with politics, right? But hopefully those time-honored rights or respected rights, we've always had the right, but at least in the United States, we do tend to respect that, at least as the First Amendment is written. We'll see if it continues to be enforced like that, where we have the right to write free, freedom creating software, and that's protected under free speech. But I guess we'll see. But yeah, let's bring on Will. He's one of our modern day soldiers here, fighting the good fight of freedom, without even really knowing it. I mean, you don't have to necessarily have that as your goal. I think Will is a pretty mild mannered guy that just wants to write cool software. But unfortunately, we're put in a position these days where that can get you, just doing something good for the world can get you thrown in a cage on very rare instances. So with that, I guess, welcome, Will.
Thanks for having me. No, I mean, I've heard a couple things thrown around when it comes to CoinJoin and PrivateSend, and I think the flaw is that these distributed ledgers just aren't centralized around privacy. I could figure out what you did. I can figure out who you paid. I think when Edward Snowden was saying in that video, he said privacy must be baked into the protocol, and that seems like the last thing that was baked in. So.
Yeah, it was the last thing that was baked into the Bitcoin protocol, and Dash came around and tried to fix some of that with the PrivateSend feature that we have, which is now rebranded and called just CoinJoin. But it's got a long ways to go, and I think the work that you're doing to bring this into JavaScript, and the work that AJ is doing with trying to make some of these transactions just default to a PrivateSend like transaction is going to go a long way with that. So there's a lot more to say about the work that AJ is doing, but let's focus on the work that you're doing. You're bringing the custom, or the traditional CoinJoin implementation into JavaScript. The traditional CoinJoin protocol into a JavaScript implementation.
Right.
So did you have any other leading questions before we get to that, to Will's demo, Amanda, or should we jump right in?
I do want to see the demo and the slides. And first, I just want to be clear on this library. Is this intended for its first use to be seen in the forthcoming Incubator web wallet, or is this for something else?
Yeah, I don't think that it's necessarily going to, it depends on how quickly we get it done, I guess. But I don't see it as being part of the first implementation of the web wallet, but that is the purpose. Is our web wallet is going to be a JavaScript library. So it's a JavaScript library that can be brought into a browser application. So that can then be used with technologies like Ionic or Tari. That can be used to create user interfaces on both the browser and mobile wallets and desktop wallets. So we can then use this same wallet to target all the different platforms, and so we can have a wallet that is unified in its user experience, but across the different platforms. And the nice thing is, that's what we're doing with this the CoinJoin thing. When you bring that protocol into JavaScript, then you can use that in any of those targets. So we can have a web app or a mobile app or a desktop app that all support CoinJoin.
Okay. All right, well, we better have a look. Will, would you like to do the slides first?
Sure, let's do that.
Okay. Let's do her.
All right. Okay, so my name's William McFallin. I am a senior full stack web developer. I am a systems development specialist and a DevOps guru. Essentially, I just love writing great software. Dash has given me the opportunity to do that, and today I will be presenting the progress we've made on a CoinJoin SDK. A little bit about myself. Obviously, I said I was a full stack web developer, but I also do C++, and I also enjoy writing network protocols. That's something that kind of appealed to me with this particular project. CoinJoin requires me to look at how to write networking code. Not so much reverse engineering, but a lot of it was, kind of diving deep into like the C++ code that that Dash core consists of. But you can find me on GitHub or Twitter under my username W Merfalen. and I will, let's see, we'll talk about where we left off. So a couple of weeks ago, we had the idea of creating a CoinJoin wallet that would exist in the browser SDK. We soon found out that we would need a node portion. So we have a browser portion and then a node portion that kind of supports anything that a mobile or desktop or a web wallet would need to do.
And when you said node in this context, you mean node.js, right?
Node.js. Yeah. So we're essentially taking like the majority of the networking code that's in Dash core, which has, been, I mean, it hasn't been extracted and put into its own library. We're essentially doing that, and we're going to allow other people to, if they want to, they can host it, they can modify it however much they want, but it'll be just its own little package that people can utilize. So we do have a Node.js SDK. It would do all the interaction with the peer-to-peer network. This project cannot just be a browser thing. It has to incorporate a browser, but also has to incorporate Node.js. We are really close right now. The server-side SDK, which is ran in Node.js, it can connect to a masternode. It can authenticate just like a full node. So think of, any wallet that you've used. A lot of them are supported by a full node. We can do that, and we can initiate CoinJoin traffic. Not only can we initiate CoinJoin traffic, we're very close to completing a full mixing round. The various steps in the CoinJoin mixing round includes a lot of messages they're all prefixed with DS, which I believe is darksend, but they never went back and changed those. So a lot of these things, even though it probably should be CJ for CoinJoin or PS or whatever, it's all DS stuff. So it's synonymous with CoinJoin and PrivateSend. There are, depending on which page you look at, there's like on the Dash core README, there are 11 steps, but a lot of those steps include things that the masternode has to do. So in reality, we're at like the last step. And to put it into like a good analogy, I would say if this were the Super Bowl, it'd be the last 30 seconds of the fourth quarter. That's how close we are to finishing a full mixing round.
And you said last step, but your slide says 8 out of 11, and I think that's because step 8 is the last step that we have to do on our side, the client side, and steps 10 and 11 are done by the masternode.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So our last hurdle right now is just signing the transactions in a way that the masternode accepts. You actually see in the demonstration I give that it actually accepts all the inputs that we give it. And more on that. I'll give more on that later when I show it to you. But we are so ridiculously close. So this is how the handshake works. Again, like the numbers are different depending on where you look. This actually doesn't include steps 8, 9, 10, 11. They're actually numbered weird. We are essentially at the last step between the node and the masternode. The next step after that would be the masternode broadcasting to the network, which is step 7. Just a quick refresher.
You probably said this, but those steps are differently labeled, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm going to go over the packet types real quick. DSA, when you join a queue, you're going to see something that says DSA accept is compatible, please submit. What that's saying is, yes, we would love to start a mixing session. Please submit your denominations. Steps 2 and 3 is a DSQ message mostly. That's when the masternode has at least, depending on the network, it's at least 3 for mainnet and testnet, I believe. And once it has that many, and then it can't find any more, it'll start with mixing, which is step 4, which says, okay, you've accepted me into this queue. I have a bunch of inputs I want to mix. Let me send it to you. And you'll see, adding entry 1 of 20. And depending on which entry you are, that's prone to change. Steps 5, 6, and 7. The DSF message is something that the master node will respond with. It'll say, okay, I've mixed everything that you've given to me. Let's sign it. And you'll see finalized transactions, relay final transaction. And the step that we're on right now is, we finished the DSS step. We just have to send it back to the master node, and you'll see similar messages like finalized transactions. Steps 9, 10, 11, they're all the master node essentially. The 11th step, which is get data, that's actually an optional step. And the Dash core README actually says, yeah, you don't have to send get data, but if you wanted to, you can optionally do that. And yeah, so I guess I will present this JavaScript library, see where we've gotten so far. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's in your demo or not, but let's take a look at the code repos that you're working with, just so people can look at that and see what you're doing, see if they can help, see, yeah.
Okay.
What just maybe give us a repo name and after your demo, of course.
Okay. So can you guys see my terminal here? /launch. Okay.
A very nice Star Wars theme I see you've got going here.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so this is a launcher script. What it does is it launches 3 instances. They're all going to be 3 connections that connect to the same master node. They're going to send their inputs and everything. So when you see something like Luke sends a DSS message, or Chewie or Han, those are just easy to remember names for each instance. And I'll go over, so we do have a log file, which I'll just reset for now. So when I launch this, it creates 3 different users with 3 different wallets. You get a lot of debugging text. What this means is that Chewie has been accepted into a into a queue. You'll see that 3 times. Let's see here. CoinJoin is collateral valid. So you'll see this stuff. So let me highlight it with my mouse. So DSA accept is compatible. Please accept. What that means is Chewie submitted. It says he wanted to mix 0.001 denominations. He sent 1 as well as a collateral transaction. That's what this message says, and that'll happen 3 different times. So now we go back, we have Han, Luke, and Chewy. All three got accepted into the mixing queue.
Just one quick question before you keep going.
Sure.
Just to be clear, this is you basically set up scripts to create all of this on the regression test network, reg test. This is not testnet as we know it. This is not mainnet. This is a local reg test, right?
Right.
Network.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of work getting that going, as I remember.
Yeah.
As well as like creating all the private key, public key pairs, denominating, pre-denominating the coins, so you don't have to have that, because that's required as part of the program, as part of the protocol, to have those pre-denominated coins.
Yeah, so to add on to that, this actually gives us a little bit more flexibility as far as, I know Amanda was saying prior to the show that she would like a different way of how we handle denominations. The way I've built it, you know, whatever denominations you send me is what I'm going to be sending through. However which way you want to cut it up and present it, you know, it's completely up to the client library. So I think there's a lot of flexibility with that. Okay, so this actually shows that, so let's go all the way back up. So we have Han update, accepting entries. What that means is we've sent the transaction inputs. They were accepted by the masternode. It mixed it, and then this signing accepted means that it did the mixing process. We signed off on that, and then the masternode, it's up to them as far as. So this is essentially the last step, and we can go and look at the traffic here. This is the masternode traffic, which has let's see here. So we add script signature. It verifies all the scripts. Add script, verify script, successfully validated input and input script. And yeah, so this is the last step. This is all working on a reg test network. To make it work on testnet or mainnet, we just simply have to change a config file setting. That's it. And then attach another wallet to it. But this is where we're at, and I think we'll be completing a mixing round, you know, within a few days from now. But yeah, that's what we got so far.
Nice. So this is what you're looking at here is this would be the logs that you might see if you were to if you were running a masternode, even on testnet or mainnet, and you said print out all the logs, this is what you'd see. So these are logs that are created by the C++ code, right?
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So the last step, you said you'll be able to get that soon. So the quote unquote soon. Do you have any kind of time frame about when you think, once you've completed one round of mixing, it's just a matter of, you know, doing it over and over again to create multiple rounds, and then we're essentially done. So after that, what does the roadmap look like?
For this portion, it would just be to hook it up to whatever front end wallets that that we'd like to integrate with. There shouldn't be too much else besides finishing the mixing round, because then we could just essentially run it in a loop, you know, and it can be very, you know, kind of there doesn't have to be a ton of monitoring going on. It's just it should mimic in a way how Dash Core does CoinJoin in the sense that if you wanted to, you could just say, okay, start, and then just let it run. But if somebody wanted more fine-grained control over how denominations are created, or a lot of that can be up to the user. It's just a matter of how much do they want to control.
Yeah, and we'll make that all on the Incubator side, so we're not expecting users to have to do their own denominating and all that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, that'll be part of a task, a separate task on the browser side, or the client side, for the wallet to make those denominations. And I think we've got Jordan that's going to be working on that with you.
Yep.
So yeah, it seems to be all coming together. Just need a little bit more time. Any other questions, Amanda?
Did you want to take a peek at the repos, or sorry, did you guys do that when I was offline there?
Yeah, let's take a look at those.
So I would take a look at Dash Hive, look for Dash join.js. These are the pull requests. The code is all under alpha v1. And we have a nice readme of everything we've done so far and what we've accomplished. We haven't fully merged anything into main until a solid alpha has been released and we've all tested it.
Okay.
But I can tweet this, or I can just send it here in the chat for now. But yeah. So this is where it's at. We don't have any official releases yet because we're just waiting to finish this current piece, and then.
Do you see the question from Shenmik on the screen there? He says, I'll read it out. Why does the code base was split into client side / backend side? What parts actually prevents implementing it fully as a client side in the browser? So can you answer that question?
Oh yeah. So
my guess is it has something to do with networking.
Yeah. Yeah. So the browser, if we were to do it purely in the browser, then the browser would have to implement essentially TCP sockets, which it can't do now. I don't know of any browser that can do TCP sockets. It can do HTTP requests, HTTPS requests. It can do WebSocket requests, but none of the kind of fundamental TCP socket traffic. It can't do that. So we had to add a node.js portion. There's kind of no way around that. I would be stoked to see that supported in a browser, even if it's just one browser, because that would kind of, you can make this a pure browser only SDK if that were the case.
Yeah, so maybe in the future, if browser vendors start supporting low-level TCP packets, if that's what I understood, then we could modify this so that it could be just a purely browser side implementation. But that's the trade-off that we had to do, or not the trade-off, but that was the constraint that we had to work within, and so we split it to two different sides. But the important thing here is, I think there will be that browser SDK, so that any wallet, any JavaScript wallet that wanted to implement CoinJoin could just import this SDK, and then now you've got CoinJoin. Right. Question for the end, just in case, I guess, is what JIC. Is a web wallet what's needed to make the phone wallet mix? A phone wallet, so basically, is what we're doing, making the web wallet something that it will make a mobile wallet support mixing? Is that, I think that's the question, and the answer is yes. So there are different ways. Like there's Dash Core Group has their mobile wallets, and those mobile wallets are native iOS and Android wallets, meaning they're written in Swift or Objective-C and Java or Kotlin. Now this, and that's how they implement their mobile wallets. And I think that there will be a governance question. I saw a poll about it from Joel about whether we should have DCG's mobile wallets support CoinJoin. And I think that they're already starting on that, but that's kind of a question that the network will be able to vote on this cycle, as far as I know. Could be next cycle. I don't know when Joel is going to put that governance question in. But we're going to be working in parallel for this JavaScript SDK, so that mobile wallets that are built using JavaScript and those technologies that I mentioned earlier on in the show, such as Ionic or Capacitor or what I don't recall the other one right off, Atari. There are others as well. There are older ones as well, older technologies that convert JavaScript code bases into different platforms. So we do plan on doing that. And then, like I've mentioned in some of the Maya shows, I'd like to have combine this idea with exchanging between different other coins to have mixing as a service for a coin like Bitcoin, for example. So you deposit your Bitcoin into the web app, not deposit in the sense that you're giving up control, but just putting it into the mobile wallet, or into the web app. And then it converts it over to Dash, mixes it, converts it back into Bitcoin, and then now you have more private Bitcoin. So that's something that's on the roadmap as well, but this is a prerequisite to both of those applications.
Groovy. Okay, well, was there anything else that we should see or talk about, Will, or does that about cover it for us?
I mean, yeah, that's all I've got for now. I mean, if I can field any more questions if anybody has something.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions we've had so far. So thanks for joining us today, Will. Good topic for a good time. And we look forward to, I mean, it looks like, you're on the home stretch here, and we look forward to seeing it ready to go.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so next week we have our quarterly report, right, Amanda?
That's right. Yep. So same time as usual, but it will be, as Ryan said, the quarterly report for the second quarter of this year. And of significance is that it will be the final report of the, I guess, what could be called the legacy funding model of the incubator so far, which is where all strategist budgets come from a single proposal payout. And as we discussed on the show last week, things will change up a bit in the future, in that individual strategists currently associated with the incubator, or even just people who aren't currently associated with the incubator, but who want to come on as a strategist / project manager, will be making their own.
I'm not sure if it's frozen on my end or on everybody's end, but
it looks like she's frozen. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, next month, next quarter, meaning this coming week, you'll see three different proposals from the incubator, one from each strategist requesting the funds that they need to complete and start new projects that they're thinking about under their strategy. So I'm not sure if I can close the show out, but